Man, I had this moment looking at video game music that made me realize how much bigger this scene is than I thought. My generous and decidedly good-looking patrons leave requests for video topics every month, and they're frequently for game soundtracks that I've never checked out. One such case was a request to cover the music of Diablo, specifically pointing me to the Tristram Village theme, which has, as I discovered, 5 million views? What the hell? This kind of thing makes me feel like I'm living under a rock. Pretty much all I do is listen to video game music, and yet I've never heard this piece before. I guess there really is a whole world out there outside of the Nintendo Fanboy corner of VGM. Anyway, the Tristram Village theme from Diablo, composed by Matt Uelmen, does a fantastic job of creating a sense of place. The music draws you in with its potent atmosphere while conveying the tone and aesthetic of the game's world, a careful balance of grimness and mystery. How does the music create this feeling? In short, open, ambiguous chords that make full use of the natural strengths of the guitar, interesting textures that balance sparse instrumentation with soundscape-style mixing, and clever use of the Diablo and Musica, quite appropriate given the name of the game. We see all three of these techniques in action right from the first seconds of the piece, opening with big strummed chords on a 12-string guitar. The heavy delay effect used fills up the space between these big held chords and augments the already shimmering quality of the 12-string sound. And you'll notice each chord uses the open strings on the guitar, these B and E strings, as well as this low A, to get a maximally full and resonant sound. These types of chords are where the guitar sounds best. That's why you see the cowboy chords used in basically every guitar song ever written, and why most guitarists don't even know that there are keys with flats in them. To get into the technical side of things, these chords are also harmonically open and ambiguous. This first A sus2 chord leaves out the third, giving us a sound that's neither major nor minor. And the following chord answers by dropping the fifth of the chord, E, down a half step to D sharp. This D sharp stands a tritone above the root, A, giving us our first devil's interval of the piece and injecting a dissonance into the music. The open E string ringing out on top creates a minor ninth interval against this D sharp, an interval even more dissonant than the tritone, if less infamous. This pair of chords sets up the pattern that we'll see used throughout pretty much the entire piece. The first chord is open, mysterious, but inviting, and the second chord brings in the crunchy notes. The introduction of this dissonance after being drawn in by the first chord is what creates such an ominous feeling. At first, you're curious but unsure, and then quickly you realize there's danger lurking there. This 1-2 punch becomes a motivic idea that pervades the Tristram Village theme more meaningfully than any of the melodic snippets that weave in and out around it. For example, the following 4 bars sees an open D sus2 chord, once again using the open strings and leaving out the third of the chord for an ambiguous tonality, trading with a dissonant B flat sharp 4 over A chord. This still makes clever use of the open strings, but we're a long ways away from your typical cowboy chords here. The chords are different, but the conceptual pattern is the same, and so is the emotional effect. The return back to our A sus2 chord sees the introduction of harmonics to add to the sonic atmosphere of the piece, once again using the unique abilities and sounds of the guitar. I love the way these harmonics, the high-pitched ringing notes produced by barely touching the string with your fretting hand as you pluck the note, ring out with that heavy delay effect. And the rippling guitar strings filling in the bar add such a great texture to the soundscape. As big of a music theory nerd as I am, you also gotta appreciate the elements that don't fit on the page. They add so much to the atmosphere. The guitar introduces a driving rhythm in the following section with a new pair of chords, an F major 7 flat 5 and an F sharp 11. The first chord sticks within the probable key of A minor. We haven't actually heard an A minor chord yet, or even a C note anywhere in the piece yet, but the foreboding atmosphere definitely leans minor. And the second chord here gives us a jarring step out of the key with a chromatic step up. Both use the same open strings, the B and E notes here, as color notes for the chord, while the fretted notes, the root and third of each chord, shift up and down. The held open strings bring some cohesion to how jarring this chromatic move is, and they also create some really interesting harmonic colors. This F major 7 flat 5 or major 7 sharp 11 shape is a really arresting sound that you hear in jazz harmony all the time, and it evokes that bright Lydian quality with the sharp 4th playing against the root. The F sharp 7 chord here features both the 3rd and the 4th of the chord right next to each other, which adds a great half-step crunch to an otherwise very bright and happy sound. I think this 3rd and 4th together, along with the open strings, is probably what makes this part sound so much like a Rush song. The F sharp 7 chord works as both a chromatically dissonant decoration to the F major chord, and also as a 5 chord that sets up a shift to the key of B minor. Getting a real clear resolution for the first time in the piece is satisfying, but having this resolution be up a whole step from the key we thought we were in maintains the piece's sense of unease. We're still not totally sure of where we are or what's lurking around the corner. We see the same 1-2 punch pattern used here as well. In the key of B minor now, we trade our tonic B minor add 2 chord with a D minor over F, a jarring chromatic leap that gives us our second explicit tritone of the piece. The melody and bass here both jump from a B note to an F on beat 1 of each measure, injecting that devilish tritone flavor into the music. Using a D minor over F here is a very deliberate choice. Moving from a minor chord to a minor chord a third away is called a chromatic mediant relationship, and it's a great tool for creating motion that feels jarring and unexpected. Putting the D minor chord in first inversion, where the third of the chord is in the bass, allows us to keep that chromatic mediant sound while also giving us this tritone interval in the bass line. It's the best of both creepy worlds, perfectly capturing the unsettling atmosphere. The melody here is right in line with the kinds of creepy, ominous music tropes usually reserved for haunted houses or Dracula-infested castles. Moving up the notes of a minor scale or chord in a straightforward way and then slipping down a half step to land on a dissonant chromatic note with this flat 5th here, this kind of melody perfectly evokes the appropriate mood, and the audience will likely be subconsciously reminded of other classic creepy settings. Much like how the jarring chromatic F sharp 7 chord we heard earlier was used to pivot us into the key of B minor, this jarring chromatic D minor over F chord is also used to pivot us back to the key of A minor, with this F to G to A bass walk up getting us there. We get the same ominous melody in the key of A minor, and the same tritone leap from A to D sharp, but this time used as the basis for a D sharp diminished 7 chord that builds us up to a resolution to E minor. Now, diminished 7 chords are basically all tritone, made up of 2 sets of tritones a minor third apart from each other. which makes them a perfect candidate for Tristram Village as they totally fit in line with the mood of the piece. I love how the E minor resolution is delayed by a beat and then played with harmonics only on the guitar, teasing us a bit after that big diminished crescendo and giving the music space to return to its lower opening intensity level. Focusing back on the production element too, the opening chord of the following section is played in reverse and builds into the strumming of that chord at the start of the next bar, in a way that I can't help but associate with Yes's Roundabout. These chords take a lighter turn from what we've had up to this point, leaving behind the dissonant chromatic jumps for alternating A minor 7 and G major 7 over A chords. We do actually have a real explicit A minor chord here with the third and everything, but adding in the flat 7th to the chord as well softens the minor effect. And moving to this great ambiguous G major 7 over A introduces the lightness of the raised 6th of the key with this F sharp note on top. That's a Dorian sound for those of you who've been following my mode series. This moves into an F major 7 to C major 7 move, resolving to the relative major key to bring a real sense of lightness and release, in contrast to the ominous nature of the piece up until here. I mentioned ambiguous chords, and the variety of different sus chords used throughout the piece are very cool, but adding to the sense of tonal ambiguity is the way the piece keeps jumping back and forth between the keys of A minor and B minor. Skipping ahead a little bit, we move into a section in B minor that sees the guitar moving up and down these big, sweeping, colorful arpeggios. Big open B minor 7 chords move to G over B chords, with the top note of each arpeggio forming a simple but colorful melody. The big open intervals and added in 7ths help give this bit a contemplative feeling. Looking at where these notes would fall on guitar though, we see that once again this is a matter of using the guitar's natural strengths. The fingerings are super easy and use just as many open strings as fretted. What would be a completely unintuitive voicing on almost any other instrument is easy to find and play here, and it sounds fantastic. When the bass and melody lines come in, with these trading figures between an oboe and a French horn, the guitar arpeggios continue but set up a return to the key of A minor. This B minor to G, 1 to flat 6 move sees the G chord pivot into being the flat 7 of A minor and resolves up to A minor to begin an answering 1 to flat 6 progression in our new/old key. You'll notice that these A minor and F chords once again include a B note in each in order to use that open B string. This adds up to A minor add 2 and F major 7 sharp 11 chords. Rich, colorful harmonic choices that you won't hear around just any old campfire. We get our last tritone jump of the piece right towards the ending in a disorienting run up to the final chord. This A minor to F move gets cut off as the F jumps a tritone to a B half diminished chord, resolving down to an out of key and as of yet unheard B flat 6. This starts off a twisty path from B flat 6 to A major, then up to an A sharp diminished 7 that resolves to a B augmented chord to finish off. What an ending, eh? Having spent time with B minor as a temporary home key, landing on this B chord after such a turbulent chord sequence has a bit of a sense of finality, but obviously landing on an augmented chord kinda undercuts whatever sense of resolution we would have. That last sharp fifth does resolve down to a regular fifth for the final strum, but with all that reverb and delay, we still hear that augmented chord sound ringing out over the end of the piece, leaving us with a profound sense of unease. We may leave this town behind us, but we'll never shake the sense of dread we got from what was lurking just underneath the surface. Most timeless classic game music is remembered for having a great melody or a feel-good groove, but the Tristram Village Theme creates a legacy based purely on its atmosphere. The careful crafting of the music, building floaty, ambiguous chords punctuated with devilish dissonance, all the while playing to the natural strengths and sound of the 12-string guitar and augmenting it all with liberal use of effects, together it puts the listener in the village so well you can just about smell it. These conceptual elements are all totally stealable for composers too, and I for one will be helping myself. Huge thanks to my buddy Jules for helping out with the guitar footage in this video. If you somehow haven't checked out his channel already, he's one of the grandfathers of video game music covers, and he has a cover of Tristram Theme on his channel for you to listen to right now, so go do that. Also, big thanks to patron Alexander Taylor for the recommendation, and if you'd like to join Alex in supporting this channel, you can check out my Patreon page via the link in the description. I actually uploaded the guitar tabs for this piece for $5 and up patrons this time, along with the transcription, so that might be fun to check out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.